An independent group known as the Pew Research Group has conducted and aggregated data on the decline in public trust of the federal government from 75% in 1960 to just 20% today. It's a remarkable decline for a first world democratic society. So the question is, just how complex and pervasive is the loss of trust, and what are the potential remedies to restore trust in government? My name is Jim Connor. Welcome to Game Changers Silicon Valley. My guest for this topic is Rishi Kumar, a 2024 candidate to represent California's 16th district in the House of Representatives. Rishi, welcome to the show. This decline in trust has taken place across all political administrations. As a person seeking congressional office, what is your perspective on how serious is the problem and perhaps what we can do about it?
Yeah, Jim, thank you so much for inviting me back. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for putting me in the hot seat with a very interesting topic. And yes, it's an erosion of trust of the American people. And, there are many reasons responsible for it. And I would say one of the key aspects of this is the total partisan politics that's been playing out. I think parties on both sides are actually playing to the gallery, and the interest of the American people are left behind. So when they see this bickering in Washington, one party goes out and goes after the president in the White House, the other party wants to do the same thing, and then nothing is getting done. And there are huge challenges when you look at the de-dollarization that is impending. I believe that's the most important agenda item for White House and for Congress. We need to figure solutions out. No, they are all bickering and fighting, and they're enjoying throwing mud at each other. And we are witness to that, and we're like, what is going on here?
One of my first points is that, and both parties are doing this lack of transparency. We suddenly see decisions announced. And many times they're announced Friday after Thanksgiving, when the news isn't really going to get a hold of it. I'm wondering, can we, the voters, start to require more transparency? And if so, what's the best way to do that for the existing situation?
That's an excellent point. When you look at serving the city council, a population of 30,000, the city of Saratoga, people did not know what was going on. And I started this trend back in 2014 when I first got elected to start letting people know, here are agenda items coming and here is how it impacts you and me, right? I think that is not there. So Washington is like a big black box, and the press are really playing party politics. They're not really articulating the true story. You talk about fake news, there's plenty of fake news going on. And so our American people, they're not quite aware of what's going on. So the transparency, and in fact, all these elected leaders, they stand behind that big complexity black box, and they're like, these guys will not understand anyway. Let's continue to do what we are doing, and that's not good. That's not fair for us, and it's up to the voters to hold them accountable now.
Mm-hmm. I don't normally talk about my own personal experiences, but I will share this with you that. I, like most people, will watch the news. I'll watch both CNN, I'll watch Fox. I want both perspectives. But lately, it's gotten so partisan and so more or less off the rails and lacking transparency that I actually stopped watching it. And I decided to pay for a subscription to YouTube to watch whatever I want to watch when I want to watch it. And Roku. I think I'm right in the middle because I've heard a lot about cord cutters. I didn't think I'd ever be one, but I'm becoming a cord cutter. And it all has to do with this propaganda tint, if you will, to the news, and how everything is slated one way or another. You can hear the same event described in radically different ways depending on who you listen to on the broadcast. So this leads to the second point I wanted to touch on, which is this lack of transparency, which you alluded to also, leads to such polarization. So if we brought transparency back, do you think we could reduce the polarization? I don't have an answer for it. I have to ask a more informed person such as you.
Yes. So, my take is the polarization is based upon a culture that's established in the party. And some of it is because of the old timers. They are, let's call them the power mongers. They are holding that seat of power, and they are dictating their philosophy, their agenda to the next generation who are coming into office. And these guys are carrying the baton forward, The culture has been passed on, and that is really where everything wrong that could happen in American politics is happening. And to an extent, I think it's up to the voters. We need to demand that stop this bickering, vote these people out of office. If there are people on the extreme fringe of both parties, it's time to eject them out and try to find moderate people who are all about trying to get stuff done. If the voters send that message out, that will change things, and eventually that will bring back trust upon Washington, upon our politicians,
Mm-hmm. I also, I'll add one more thing I read recently, which I did not yet mention to you, and that is a book by Robert Putnam called Bowling Alone, written in 2001. And he's from Harvard. He did a bunch of research, and he said at one time there were a lot of bowling leagues, but now people go bowling alone. And he uses this as a metaphor to talk about the breakdown of socialization, of social groups. And certainly COVID was a big contributor to this, but we already had this happening because there was already polarization. COVID made it even worse, or the restrictions made it even worse. And his point is, again, he does not have a magic bullet or silver bullet answer, but I know from my personal experience that in my social groups, tennis is one of my favorite ones, we have people of all political orientation there. We have some right-wing people, we have a lot of left-wing, we have a lot in the middle, but we all get along. Yet we see nothing of this orientation in politics today.
When you look at our congressional district, our congressional leader is basically playing to the gallery. Do they really care about Republican interests? No, they completely ignore them. And in fact, what I've heard from some is that they appear on the town hall meeting, which is conducted via phone. I don't know why. I mean, it should be a live town hall meeting, but their questions are ignored. So our politicians prefer to play partisan politics and playing to the gallery, and that's not very helpful at all in the long run. But I think going back to the point you've made about social media, it's the media, our news media and social media, that are responsible for creating this fake narrative of amplifying the partisan politics story in terms of messaging that is coming out. And I think we need to reset the social media algorithms. We saw how, social media, the companies here in Silicon Valley had their say in terms of how the election would play out. And they did it because they could. But it's time where we applied algorithms from the AI ML. We have to figure out automated versions of these algorithms to make sure that we bring it back to middle ground and people get the data that is more authentic and not the party ideology. I think this is where we need to go. Both the media and the social media need to figure out a way to get there.
Yeah. You've been on the City Council of Saratoga, and you had to deal with these transparency issues. And to your credit, I want to acknowledge it. Your website is full of all your positions, completely, with all the details. Like it or not, you're a full disclosure guy, which I respect so much. Has that in any way hurt you?
Well, that's very interesting, because somebody yesterday said, Rishi, I don't know why you have so many policy papers, because they'll pick out one and they'll catch you on that. And, I don't think of it that way, because, I'm running for office and I need to be transparent with respect to the policies that I stand for. On the flip side, if you see, have people come out and actually try to find policies or spend time reading. Usually when I look at the analytics, we are very data driven. They show up to the homepage, they visit my endorsement page, they visit my priorities page, they spend about 2 minutes, and that's to the extent of the analysis that people take the time for, And I don't think so. Some of them, perhaps in 2 minutes, they can infer that Rishi is the right guy. But when an incumbent has been there for so many different decades, I believe it behooves people to spend a little bit more time in trying to analyze who this guy is.
Is this polarization and transparency going to be part of your campaign?
Well, it is. Firstly, I think the election is in March, and last year, we actually beat 6 challengers, very formidable challengers. 3 of them were council members, 2 of them were council members. And so we believe that next year, we have a really good chance of once again making it top 2 and making, the California as a jungle primary. So all parties in one bucket, the top 2 make it to the next round. So we believe we should repeat that again.
Do you have any sense of who's going to be running? besides you and Anna Eshoo?
Right now, it's just Anna Eshoo. So some of these challenges from last year, I haven't seen them announce. And, sitting at 42%, the word is out there. I've heard folks having conversations, thinking about running. And the question that they are being asked is, how will you beat Rishi? Because, we have done well. We have done historically well compared to any other challenger in the last 30 years. But going back to my policy in terms of trying to find that narrow swim lane to victory, I believe it is bipartisanship. I think we need to team, we need to work together. And so if you visit my website, rishikumar.com/moderate, you will find my fiscally moderate policies on this one. I'm against taxation. I'm also, very pragmatic and common sense thinking in terms of policies that are required for America and for our congressional district. And that's the swim lane that we are carving out.
Yeah. You seem, in my opinion, have a lot of common sense in your positions, but I do want to ask you this, as I've had this topic come up. How does the Democratic Party establishment treat you these days? Are you getting any respect, or are you why are you challenging us? Is that, what is the attitude you're seeing?
Well, they would like to see me gone.
Gone, okay. You mean to give up and walk away? And
Yeah, I mean, they don't want me. In fact, that was, a lot of people were talking about the 6 challenges last time, and all their policy positions were right around my position. And somebody who is a very avid political follower of politics basically said that, it seemed like, Rishi, that they were geared towards toppling you, because if Rishi doesn't make it past the primary, if a Republican makes it past the primary, then it's game over. There's no contest, basically, because in our district, it's only about 25% of the voters who are Republicans. So a Republican doesn't have a pathway to victory at all. Mm-hmm. So this is, the party wants to get me out. In fact, I think this is very wrong for both parties. Anytime somebody challenges an incumbent, they make life impossible for you because they're trying to prevent these mavericks from going out and running campaigns. But this is not how you're serving democracy,
Yeah, but the best thing that could happen to me is you and anybody else who's running, and Anna Eshoo, are in a full-blown debate, a real debate about policies with not 2-minute sound bites, but something where you really get to explain your position and to challenge the response from the other candidate too. And I don't mean screaming and yelling, but I mean a respectful response.
To that point, I think so far it's basically the League of Women Voters. Mm-hmm. They do an amazing job of running the candidates forum. But I think we need to go beyond a candidates forum, because we don't get a chance to rejoinder. And we are really not having a debate. And in fact, we have reached out to some of the media companies, the TV stations, but nobody's really picking up that let's have a real debate. And we saw that with Ro Khanna when he was challenging Mike Honda in the 2016 run. A couple of TV stations picked it up. And we hope in this next run, next year, in 2024, I hope a couple of TV stations will find this of interest to actually have a hard debate. What's wrong with a real debate about the issues and trying to make it easier for people to understand who's the right candidate?
Well, I think that the give and take of a comment or a position and a challenge back is so important. We're going to do that, I think. You've given me an idea here as I see it here. I don't know if we could do 4, but we can certainly do 2. Now, we have to get the other person to show up, which hasn't happened so far. But I think we'll try this. We have a studio here. It's a nice little studio. We have lots of recording equipment. We've got a crew that's helping out, doing a great job. So I want to
sign me up for the debate.
I will sign you up for the debate, and I hope I can keep the issues transparent, clear, and challenge somebody that tries to evade our questions. So that's the other issue I always see. Somebody asks a question, the candidate does not answer it, he beats around the bush, goes out, and then the moderator moves on.
A very interesting story, Jim, not to digress too much,
please.
But we had a debate, the Labor had organized that a couple of years back, and there was a question about artificial intelligence, and Congresswoman Eshoo was sitting right next to me, and she said, I'm going to fight to protect American workers with AI, this is, something like that, right? And I was listening, and I said, I'm sorry, Congresswoman Eshoo, I disagree. And she was a little unhappy with me on that, And I said, look, this is the change that is happening. We better embrace it. We need to retrain our workers. We need to create an educational opportunity. For example, programming is going to be done. We need to now figure out how to train computer scientists to leverage these open AI frameworks to write code. We need to prepare for the future. It's not like we can fight and try to prevent this happening to protect American workers. That's just like an old way of thinking,
Well, Rishi, you've been great. I've enjoyed having you here so much, your transparency, your candor, your common sense. Let me ask you to give our audience a way to follow up, meet you, contribute to your campaign, or become involved with your campaign.
Well, we are doing the listening tour right now, Jim. We are at every city, every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, rishikumar.com/listen. And you will see our lineup there. Please join us. And I would love to meet our residents of our district. And then we are always looking to raise money. The incumbent outspent us 3-1 in the last run, and we are trying to bridge that gap. So please go to rishikumar.com and make a campaign contribution. We would be very honored to have your support.
Well, thank you so much. I really want to thank you again, and I want to wish you every success going forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for joining us in this episode. If you gained insights from this conversation, share this show with your network. You can view all shows at our website, gamechangers.tv, as well as the podcast, Game Changers Silicon Valley. We look forward to your continued interest in upcoming shows.